guys, welcome to the Off Market Mindset. My name is Michael Riordan. I'm the host here, and I've got Reed. Reed, I always forget how to say your last name. You want to
Yeah, it's a common thing. So it's Peuser.
Puser? Okay. So I always think like Puser for some reason when I'm thinking in my mind there, but
Sounds so European when you say it like that.
right? It's like Target and Target, right?
Yeah, right.
But just to kind of introduce and fill in anything that you need to, man. But Reed, he's a 15-year realtor. He's also a creative finance investor and business owner, as well as he's a developer for modular homes, where he provides high-end homes to people. Yeah, and we'll get more into what that is a little bit later. But I mean, is there anything that you want to fill in that I might be missing there, or?
Oh man, I think that you covered the bases. In regards to the home company specifically that we've been starting up for quite some time. I think the best descriptor of it would probably be like component-driven housing systems. And the reason that I say that is, we actually prefabricate on a component level rather than like, putting together entire wall systems and shipping them that way and stitching them together on site. So we actually like assemble these kind of similar to what you would expect in like a regular traditionally built timber home. And just with, prefabricated components of steel framing, panelized walls and roof systems, etc.
That's pretty dope, man. And just kind of explain like your evolution, because most realtors, right? Like they're just realtors, and they think their stuff don't stink, and they don't really venture into other things, right? Like you barely find a realtor that is doing as much as you do, right? So, I mean, what's got you to the point where you were, able to evolve through the different stages?
Yeah, man, that's a super interesting question to address. So, I grew up in a real estate family here in Colorado. My parents were both brokers for 20 plus years. I mean, my mom is still practicing somewhat, in fact. And so, I was that little kid in the car riding around, going to the showings, wondering what in God's name my dad was talking to these people for so long for. In fact, like I remember one time specifically, I was in the car, it was in summertime, it was hot, and I'm like, this is just ridiculous. They've been in there for far too long. And I actually like honked the horn at my dad a couple times, like trying to get him to come out. That was the last time I ever did that. And you
I would
know,
assume so.
to bring it full circle, of course, I understand now, relationships are everything in business, and I think that real estate is no exception to that. But yeah, man, I went to college at CU, Colorado University, and I graduated in 2007, right into the Great Recession. And, at that point in time, a history major and a pre-law minor, and I considered going to law school. I decided pretty quickly that that was not a good idea after speaking with some attorneys. They felt like they were pretty miserable just in their offices, cooped up all day, reading case law, etc.
Uh,
So I got a little bit of experience in the building industry by helping one of my dad's friends who was a GC out in like kind of near the Aspen, Colorado area, build his personal home. And then it was a crazy winter there and very, very cold. We ended up shoveling the job site out about half the time every day, and eventually we were
oh
just
my
like, "Hey,
God.
this doesn't even make sense." So I thought to myself, like, "Man, I can use my brain. I don't need to be in the manual labor game professionally." So my parents told me to do what they knew what to do, which is get your real estate license. So I got my real estate license in April of 2008, which was probably the worst timing that you could ever consider.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so I was actually in a secondary market that was more for like discretionary purchases up in the mountains of Colorado, and man, I learned the hard way that how tough the business can be, and only did a couple deals that first 8 months or so, and then got a professional job doing business to business sales, and did that as well as real estate, and then I kind of was just biding my time after I met my wife, moved up to Denver, and re-entered the real estate marketplace in 2013 when we were on the upswing. Over that time, I've closed, probably, I haven't counted them recently, but probably over 250 different transactions, and built a little team and thought I was going to scale and leverage through building a team, right? But then I realized that that wasn't really for me. Like I was looking for something more. After you do
Let
something for a
me
long time, go ahead.
let me ask you something though, because it sounds like you were pretty successful in real estate, right? So, um, like what was it that made you decide like, it's just not for me? Like at what point, what was your turning point where you realized even in your success that that wasn't enough?
I think that it was that after you do anything for a long enough period of time, you get very proficient at it. And you get to the point where it's like kind of like second nature, right? You think of like you get in your car and driving down the road, right? Like it's just something that you do. You don't even have to think about it really. And so real estate was starting to get like that for me as being a realtor. And I love to innovate, right? Like even with my real estate sales presentation, like I'd always be changing it and, doing something new and, making it fresh and making it meaningful and authentic. And I felt like, there was something more that I could do with my time. I felt like I could make a bigger contribution, although I think I made a great contribution to a lot of my clients over the years. Um, I started to see the marketplace shift as well, and I started to see affordability, go down the tubes. And I think with that, and then my own investing business, which I've done quite a bit of investing, BRRRRs, short-term rentals, flips, etc. I just saw like that there was a need in the marketplace for more creative solutions. And that's what really brought me to seek out um, mentorship. And eventually, I ended up finding some pretty high level mentorships within the real estate industry. And, I got into some of the wrong rooms and paid a lot of money in order to get into the right room. And I think that the right room for me was sub two and owners club.
Hmm. I got you. Now, with the other rooms that you were in, right? Um, Obviously not everything is bad. So what do you feel like you learned from those rooms that you were in that you're using today? And then I guess maybe what were some of the negatives that you noticed in those rooms too that made you decide that they weren't for you? Like what were some of the positive takeaways, but also some of the negatives that made you move on?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think some of the positive things about those rooms were just simply getting around people who were thinking and dreaming bigger. I
Mhm.
think that you can get very siloed as a realtor at times in just like, hey, there's one pathway and this is the pathway to go on, right? It's all about scale of transactions. And getting in some of those wrong rooms initially were seeing more investors, whether they were flippers or they were developers or, maybe even a couple people doing creative finance. It was mostly flippers in that first group that I was in. It just opened my eyes to be like, oh man, these guys are actually like running more of a business than they are being a self-employed service provider. And so like opening my eyes up to that was huge. Um, I think another positive was meeting some people who I'm really close to now, some people that are actually in Sub 2 and in Owners Club that I partner with now. I met them through those rooms. In fact, my business partner Casey, I met him the very first night that we ended up going to this dinner after joining up with this other group. And from that time on, he and I have been on parallel paths of growth and really emphasize the who, not how side of things. So I think that those are some of the positives.
Nice, man. Okay. And when you say the who, not how, right? That's really awesome because one of the big things that I focus on is networking and stuff like that. And, it's how we kind of connected together. But I truly believe that it's who you know is the most important thing in anything because they can give you knowledge, they can give you funds, they can give you connections, and increase your who's, right? I should coin that, right? But
Yeah, build up those who's.
right. So, and then once you have the right people around you, knowing how to utilize your network is the most important thing. So, definitely. But I guess what were some of the negative things that you took away that made you decide? Because it sounds like some of the things you took away were great. What were some of the negatives?
I mean, I think that the biggest negative in that circumstance, honestly, was lack of leadership within the group. Uh, it's something that, Pace talks about a lot, which is, like, hey, you might not want to create like a coaching program, right? And the reason for that is because it's very hard to sustain that, and it's hard to, have success doing so. Because the reality is that a lot of the people that get into it probably won't do everything that's, put forward in that coaching session. And then, therefore they'll end up saying like, hey, this is not of value because, like I didn't get the results. Um, but I think the people that are most successful in the space of like bringing a group of people together, um, with a lot of synergy and a lot of value that's exchanged between everybody are those true leaders. And it's rare to find a real true leader in this space. I think a true leader actually, values the success that he's able to help his members accomplish, even as much as his own success. And, the leadership that was in that group was more so like, hey, I'm above you guys and I don't see the potential in you, but I see what you currently lack. And I'm not willing to put in the work to help you get to where you want to be.
Nice. Yeah, you actually just answered a question I was going to ask because, there's always that level of self-accountability. And even in Pace's group, right? I mean, we see people all the time. Oh, I've been in the community for 2 years and I haven't done a deal, right? But then you dig a little deeper and you find out that, they haven't been making calls, they haven't watched the trainings, they never attend the Zooms or anything like that, right? So, but I like what you said is, a true leader sees your potential and, where you're lacking and they help to bring you up. And that's like that go-giver mentality. When I first heard that and Pace said, be a go-giver, I was like, wow, that's different, you know, and that's what made me really love the sub two community. And, that's why I joined Owners Club as well. So, but that's cool, dude. And then, what was it that uh, got you going to the next step then? So now that we touched on that, sorry for interrupting. You were going over the next phase there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just kind of looking for what my next phase professionally was, knowing that I was kind of like getting a little bit, you know, I guess like not as stimulated as I would like to be on the realtor side of things. So I started seeking, and that was probably back in like really about like 2022. I started to really seek like what the next thing is. And I've always been interested in like bringing creative solutions and true value to the marketplace. Sometimes I see like being a successful realtor as almost like a popularity contest. So it's like, whoever people like the most and whoever's like most top of mind and like creating the content all the time is who they, want to work with. And like I like to actually have a value proposition that's unique and it's tangible. So that kind of brought me to creative finance, and I joined Sub 2 give or take about a year and a half ago. And really got excited about it. However, right on the outset, my excitement kind of waned as I learned that my brokerage was really, really against, doing any kind of creative deals, which I think is probably a common experience of anybody that's licensed that gets into sub two, right? There's very few brokerages that are supportive of it. And ultimately, they're doing what they need to do, which is to, cover themselves and, minimize liability. And
yeah,
brokerages are good at doing one thing, and that's trying to increase the number of transactions that are going on, right? So I kind of
that's
put it on the
that
back
because
burner.
people are always scared of what they don't understand, right?
Totally. Yeah. And so I put it on the back burner and kind of fell into old habits, didn't really go hard into creative for a while. And then, it was still just itching at me. And at that same time, I had started working on the leadership team with HouseMac, which is the building company. And I've been putting a lot of time into that for the last year and a half. I'm essentially in charge of the sales and marketing side of things, bringing it to market, forming relationships with developers, investors, consumers, as well as GCs who we want to partner with to help them do more with less time, make more money, provide a better end product, and for us, making sure that it's a good value fit for them to be assembling our houses. And yeah, so
What constitutes that? Like, say somebody's watching this right now and they
yeah.
say, "Well, I wonder if I'm like that good value fit." Like, for the people watching, what would you be looking for so that way they know whether they should reach out to you or not?
Yeah, man, I love that question. So right now we're kind of going over like going through a process of like almost like a mutual interview process with general contractors. A good value fit for us is someone who is a very organized operation, somebody who really likes technology and what it can do to help them in their business, somebody that likes the methodology that we incorporate with the way that we, design these homes and put them together and how they show up on site and all those kinds of things. And then I think the biggest thing is probably people that have a very like, high level of like pride of workmanship, because, all of our components for these homes are machine cut, machine punched to within 1 millimeter, right? So like they're like basically perfect, as close to perfect as you can get. But improper install can make any product, not perform to its highest quality. So we really want somebody that's focused on wanting to learn this methodology, shadow our team on the first, install and build, and then take it from there with a really high attention to the quality of work that they're doing.
Nice, man. Okay, so basically someone that's got a good work ethic, an established company that knows what they're doing, somebody that either knows about the concept or is willing to learn about it, and
Mhm.
that can feel like they can be passionate about what they're doing at the same time.
Absolutely. And you hit it on the nail on the head in terms of like, we would like them to be established, but they don't have to be like, the biggest company in the world. They don't have to be the biggest dog on the block. If you want to, like I said, do more with less, and I mean, do more with less time, then, that's a great fit for us, right? We want those people that are forward thinking and innovative and, that they're hungry to be able to put out a great product in less amount of time.
Thanks, man. Okay. And I guess like moving forward, like what is your vision for the future? Because I mean, you're doing three things right now, and I can't imagine that's got to be like super busy. Like I don't
Yeah.
even know how you have time to do anything, right? So,
Right.
what is your plans moving forward? Are you going to try to integrate things together, move things around, get rid of things, or like what are you going to do?
Yeah, in fact, it's actually like four things right now. So, you know, ultimately, I really want to start to focus more on the creative finance business, the house Mac business for the buildings, and then also doing some spin-off projects with house Mac homes, providing more high-end and attainable housing for locals as well as tourists in the Colorado mountain region and really the Rocky Mountain region in general. In fact, my Mount Everest with my business partner Casey is we want to provide in the next 3 years 125 attainable homes for families that want and need a higher quality and a secure environment to live in. And growing up in the Colorado mountains, I see how affordability has affected our community so drastically. I mean, there's a lot of people that I grew up with who, really are struggling to afford to live here. There's a lot of people that, work and are the heartbeat of the communities, people that, serve the tables at the restaurants, or they tune your skis, or they're raft guides, or they might even be teachers and firefighters and those kinds of things, and
Hmm.
they really can't afford to live here. So Casey and I are working towards now finding the right property or the right existing mobile home park to convert that park into a tiny home community. And when I say tiny home, they're not super tiny. We're talking about like anywhere between 575 and 1,000 square feet. So really meeting the needs of the community where it's at. And
Obviously, something affordable. If it's too big,
you
it
know,
goes up in price, right? So,
that's right. For sure. So something that's affordable, something that's manageable, and we're looking for the right land. Right now, we've been in negotiations with a couple of different landowners, just haven't found the right deal to get agreed upon yet. So we'll do that with the House Mac, product. And these are really beautiful. They're, typically we lean into like a European modern aesthetic, so we do quite a bit of glass, and we can do cool monopitch roof styles or gable or whatever, and so that's another big thing that I'm working on. And, all that being said, my wife is also a realtor and she's worked hand in hand with me on a lot of my deals, over the years. In fact, she's got great relationships with the vast majority of our book of business.
mhm.
And so she stepped up and she said that she's willing to, start to take the lead and work with those people so that I can focus more time on these other endeavors.
Nice, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This whole time, one thing that if people haven't already caught on to it, I like the fact of you saying the entire time your evolution has been not about yourself. It's been about others and how you can provide value to others, right? Um, let's talk about those others, right? The people that you're trying to help. Like if somebody is in a situation like you said, like the person adjusting your skis or the person that's doing the guided raft tours or any normal average everyday person that's having trouble that not that people in those positions are all having trouble, right? Let's just
Right.
be clear, but for the people that are having trouble in the community with affordable housing, um, what do they look like? Like, what is the qualifications for being able to get into this type of home versus like the traditional home? Because you're on both sides, right? You're a realtor, you're working
Yeah.
with retail clients on that end, but I guess how does this differ and how would it benefit somebody?
Yeah, so there's just so many people, especially in Colorado, and I think that this is probably, also in a lot of other areas of our country, and they just really can't feel comfortable affording the kind of housing that they really need. And that's on the, traditional resale market, but also on the, marketplace that I'm talking about, which would be these new builds, these kind of tiny homes. I think that a lot of these people are have pretty good jobs, or from the outside looking in, you would think like, hey, they're probably doing pretty good. But when you run a mortgage calculator, if you haven't done so recently, if you're borrowing like, say more than $400,000, you're really squeezed on your monthly, right? I mean, those are big payments.
Mhm.
Um, so, I think that like the people that I'm talking about helping are really your everyday folks, right? It's not like these people are destitute by any means. These people are also holding down, at least one full-time job and maybe even a part-time job as well. A lot of people here in the Colorado mountains, they have to hold down more than one job just to make ends meet. So these are just the regular people that you would typically think that they're probably doing just fine, but really they're squeezed real tight.
I got you. And actually, a question that I have is like, how do people get financed for something like this? Can they still get financed the traditional way, or is there a specific type of loan they need to get? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so there'll be a couple different things, right? So one of the models we've been exploring is like, how do we keep the pricing of these down even further when we know that the land acquisition costs that we're going to have to pay are very high? And that's, I think, a big reason why affordable housing initiatives have failed here in the state is that the cost of land is so high that it pushes up that final cost to the buyers, right? So one of the ways we've been trying to combat that is to, sell the units and then lease the land, right? That allows us to, sell those at a lower cost than we would have to otherwise. In that circumstance, there's a couple specialized lenders that we've been in discussions with. Um, can't remember the names off the top of my head right now. But those guys typically will do more of those loans for a traditional mobile home that with a land lease, right? Uh, on the alternative, it's like, these, if we're doing like more of like a tiny home community where we're subdividing the lots and we're selling these fee simple with the land included, then, and any of your typical lenders can do it. Like one of the big things we wanted to do as HouseMac as a company is, make sure that the on-ramp for financing is locked in tight so that, there's no barrier to entry. So we're working with two different companies right now. One is called Vector Bank, and another one is called Wintrust Mortgage, and they're both been able to, offer the financing for those projects.
Nice. And then let's talk about like creative for a second. Like, is there going to be any creative aspects involved here? Like, let's say that somebody wants to purchase one of these properties, but maybe they're not able to get approved for the, financing right away. Would you let them do like a lease to own type scenario where they come in and maybe, take over the property on a lease and then do an agreement to purchase it later? Or
So I think that that's probably like second and third generation with this. We definitely want to utilize creative to get more people into ownership. And at the same time, like we kind of have to walk before we run, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So, on this first one, it'll probably be more so those previous options that I mentioned, but eventually, getting more creative on how people can enter into these properties is definitely on the agenda.
Nice, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool, dude. And then you had spoken about like your wife being in real estate and stuff, and obviously she knows about the other things you're doing. Like what are her plans? Like, do you guys feel like you're eventually going to team up on this as well, or
Yeah, I've been so fortunate, man, to be able to kind of craft our professional life to sync up with our personal life. My wife used to do project management for a cybersecurity firm, and we spent a lot of hours during the week apart at that point in time in our lives. And we always knew we wanted to have a family, and we always knew that we wanted to be really involved with our family's life. And so about like, man, it must be like 8, 9 years ago now. I got to the point with my real estate business where I was busy enough that I needed to bring on a full-time, transaction coordinator, executive assistant, that kind of situation. And I had mentioned to her, I'm like, hey, this is where I'm at. Um, would you want to join up with me and work with me? And I gave her about a week and she came back to me and she said, like, I think that's a great idea. And so she put in her, 4 weeks notice not too long after that. And we joined up and we, went through some growing pains initially, kind of like transitioning, from husband, wife to like,
yeah, yeah.
working together. But eventually we caught on and we just, were super in sync, great team, loved doing that. And then we had our daughter in 2019. And a little bit before that we had our daughter, we essentially like let Elizabeth stop working with me very actively. And so for the last 6 years, I've been mostly doing this side of the business myself with her help on, things when she's able to. She definitely runs our household, is a great mom to Emerson, our daughter, and helps me out with a lot of things, although she's not doing it full time. Um, we also homeschool our daughter, right? So we've homeschooled her thus far. She's going to go into first grade next year, and we found a homeschool hybrid school where essentially she goes to school 2 days a week, and then she is with us for the other 2, 3 days a week. And they put together the curriculum, what's really aligned with our values and what we love to do, and it allows us more freedom of travel and stuff like that. So. I would say that Elizabeth's main job is running our household, which is a big chore, as well as doing the homeschool for Emerson. But she also is involved on the design side with some of the finishes on HouseMax. So like she definitely is involved on that level. And I think that we'll always have this relationship in which we work together on a lot of things. But as far as like her going full time with me, I think that her talents are better used elsewhere right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, and the reason I asked that question, I actually wanted to lead into something else, and it's for anybody listening. One of the biggest things is like a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, I wouldn't be able to work with my wife, or oh, I'd kill my husband if I was with him like 24 hours a day, like how do you make the business relationship work together?
Everything that you said is so accurate, man. And I just have to say this because it's funny. We would tell people that we worked together like literally half and half. It was split. Like half say, "Oh my God, you're crazy," and like literally I can never do that. And the other half were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool."
Yeah.
So you put that just right. In regards to uh like how we do it, I think the first thing that we learned was we had to give each other quite a bit of grace. The dynamic of a husband-wife relationship and the dynamic of, like a agent and transaction coordinator relationship is totally different. So giving each other a little bit of grace to like, know that like, okay, if you maybe react to my request a little bit like harder than I would like, that's okay because I know that like we're blurring relationships here a little bit, right?
Mhm.
And then I think the other thing was more of like a learning curve for me. And what that learning curve was is that I'm a visionary. I'm also very much so kind of controlling of the process. If you've been in the business and doing, a transaction, you know what it takes to do and what needs to happen and when it needs to happen and all that stuff. But
Mhm.
sometimes I just needed to let her go with things and know and trust that she knows what she's doing and that she's going to get it done. And it's going to be all good. I think that me letting go of control was a blessing to like actually help us work together better and to make us more productive.
My God, man, that's gotta be hard because, like, I can imagine doing it with my wife. Like, I have a VA and she
Yeah.
helps me out with like content and stuff. Like, she does editing and she posts things for me, answers questions and stuff like that. And like, just letting go of the control to like have someone else doing that for you is like crazy enough as it is.
Yeah.
But with it being like your spouse, that's like another level. It's crazy. But
Yeah, dude. We definitely we had a steep learning curve at the beginning, I'll say that.
yeah. I bet, man.
Yeah.
And I guess like when you say like giving each other grace, like I'm just imagining something here. So, um, like I guess when you say like you guys have to kind of separate, like say that there's something a closing tomorrow, and one of the paperwork didn't get done for it, and you're like, hey, what's going on with this paper? Like I need this done because I have the closing tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
separating is okay, I'll make sure that I get that done instead of who the hell are you talking to? Like, is that what you mean? Like not taking what they say, like, and maybe that was the same way in the relationship where it's like, hey, why are the dishes in the sink? Like, I need you to get those dishes done. It's like, who are you talking to? Like, I'm not your maid, right? But on
Yeah,
on the same part, on the business side, it's like, okay, well, this isn't dishes. Like, you're right. I got to get this done, you know?
right. Yeah, man, it's really interesting that dynamic. And I think that it probably helped us on both ends of things. It helped us be more effective in the business and also more effective as a couple. Uh, there were those times, certainly, where I was like, like, hey, where's this? Or I need this done like right now. Um, but tone of voice is big, and you can communicate the same thing without necessarily being charged emotionally about it, right? And so I really had to learn that because I knew that if I was to go to her, with an emotional charge, that it wouldn't have been, the best situation. And then on the other side of her, for her, she needed to be able to like click over into like TC mode and be like, oh, Reed just needs this done. He just needs it done now. And like, it's not like him getting after me or, nagging at me. It's that he just, needs to get it done. And so I'm going to click in and get that taken care of. So I think that, on both sides of things, we learned a lot about how to like be even more effective in our communication and to collaborate without ego, right? Because that's what it comes down to, right? Like if you have somebody say like, "Hey, you forgot this," right? And it ticks you off, right? That's a little bit of your ego coming into play saying like, "Well, I'm not wrong. Like I've done
Yeah,
all this and this and this and this," right? So, I think that collaboration without ego is a big thing to remember.
that's true. And I think honestly, like what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense in business or personal. Like, you know, I guess it depends how you look at it. I was gonna say if you treat your marriage like a business partnership, but if you treat your business partnership like your marriage, I mean, either way, I guess it could go depending how you look at it. But uh, I guess when it comes to like something that we were talking about earlier as well, just to kind of change subjects here. Um, you had spoke about the who, not the how, right? And when it comes to like having working relationships with people, um, what would you say is the best advice that you can give somebody as far as actually like finding that who, right? Like how do you put yourself in the right rooms? Like how do you know that you're in the right room? Like explain things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that it's something that you absolutely have to actively seek. You're not going to just fall into the right rooms unless you're just extraordinarily lucky, I think. So you have to self-educate. You have to self-educate with podcasts and YouTube videos and your personal relationships, your business relationships, talking about like what your goals are and what you want to do with those people. Um, and then follow that string, right? Follow the string down the trail when you find something that resonates. Somebody that's been or is where you want to go, reach out to that person, ask how you can contribute to their lives and their business, right? Buck up and spend that money to join that mentorship. Because that's where you get in the right rooms, where you get around the people that are going to take you to the next level and the people that oftentimes have the key to unlock the problem that you're experiencing.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And actually that's how I got started was I was well, let's rewind. So my first real estate transaction I ever did was a subject to hybrid. So I had a person that they needed to move like immediately and they had their husband had health issues. They had to go to New York. So we listed their house and I put it as motivated seller and somebody reached out to me on Facebook because I was marketing it on Facebook and all over the place. I didn't want to be one of those MLS agents, right? You just stick it up there and hope and pray that it sells.
Yeah.
So this person's assistant reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, what's going on with the property?" And they started asking me questions about it, and they sent me to the owner of the business, who, funny enough, it was someone that I worked with in timeshare, a couple years back. So they were a manager for Wyndham, and they left and they started their own investment business. I had no idea until that point in time. So I naturally, had him. I followed him on Facebook and everything. After that, we kept in contact. And after that transaction, the biggest mistake that I made was not, I guess, following the transaction. I just let it happen. Instead of asking like, "Oh, why are you doing this? How are you offering this?" and trying to learn from the transaction, I
Mhm.
just kind of was part of the transaction. A couple years went by and I kept seeing his stories and he was posting stories constantly of new houses that he's flipping and buying and selling and everything. And I was like, dude, like what? Like how my mind is blown. Like, I see you buying all these properties. How are you doing that? And he was like, oh, well, it's with creative finance. I've been learning from my mentor and stuff like that. And I was like, well, who are you following? He was like, oh, the guy's name is Pace Morby. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, where do I find them? So then he sent me his YouTube, and I started watching Pace's YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you want to be successful in real estate, don't join my mentorship. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, don't join my mentorship. I have a free Facebook group. Go in the group, and I want you to post in the group that you're new and you're trying to learn and connect with one of the students in the community. And I did that. And I'll never forget, a bunch of people reached out, and I started working with this guy, Sergio Ortega. And he just kind of showed me the ropes. And, I did a couple transactions with him. And then from there, I joined Sub 2. And then after the summit, that's when I joined in Owners Club. And really, the evolution was just, watching that YouTube video, taking action, seeing I could make money, right? And that it actually works if you do what you're supposed to do. And then I saw how helpful the community was, like how many people reached out. We'll work with you. If you need help, we'll answer your questions. If you want us to send you our deals, we'll show you how we structure our deals. Like that's the type of vibe I got from the community. I was like, if I can be successful not even being part of this community, imagine if I were to join. And I did. And the reason I joined Owners Club was exactly what you were saying, just putting yourself around the right people. You know, Sub 2 is amazing. However, there's a lot of people in there that are doing extremely well. There's a lot of people that are not doing extremely well, and people like in between. I wanted to be around the best, right? I wanted to surround myself with people that were where I wanted to be, or were on the same trajectory as me, right? Because there's so many people, even in Sub 2, that are not doing what they're supposed to do. And they're complaining and they're blaming everybody else but themselves. And then when you look at all the people that are successful, it's like, how could you go wrong? Right. So, I mean, that's what I would say is, in order to make sure that you get to where you want to be, just start exploring the different rooms, like Reed is saying, and pick something that fits what you're looking for. Pay attention, like I did. When I posted that asking for help, I had so many people offering help. That shows the value that that community is going to provide. I made like $50,000 before I even joined Sub 2. So at the end of the day, like, how could you go wrong if there's so many people doing well in that community? So that's what you should look for. And then, there's local meetups and stuff that you could attend, whether it's a local RIA or it's part of the community that you're looking into. I mean, just attend the meetups and learn from as many people as you can, and that's the biggest advice that I could give on my end. And I mean, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing to add to that is like if you're out there and you're watching this right now and you feel like you haven't gotten in the right rooms yet and that maybe you're interested in this and you're hungry, uh reach out to Michael. Because just in the same way that he reached out to other people in the community, you can easily reach out to him. If you got a deal, reach out to Michael. He'll be able to help you underwrite that thing, know what to do with it. You got to start somewhere, and to start with somebody that is a go-giver and is experienced, like that's the number one place that you could be. So, just encouraging if you're watching this out there, definitely reach out to Michael.
Thanks for the words, man, but they definitely need to reach out to you. So, I mean, you're the
You can
man.
reach out to me
Got
too,
it
of
going
course. Doors
on.
doors are open, right? Yeah, for sure.
Right. But yeah, Reed, I mean, at the end of the day, speaking about like reaching out, like how can people find you? Like, do you want people reaching out on social media, or like um
Yeah.
your
So
normal contact, or
yeah, so I'm sure we'll probably be able to put some of these links in the description on this thing, but easiest way to
or
get in touch with me is follow me on Instagram. My account is Own with Reed. So OWN with Reed.
Mhm. And is that REID or
Uh,
REED?
two E's, yeah. So Own
Right.
with Reed, two E's.
Just in case so people know. But yeah,
Yeah, no,
I
I
am going to
appreciate
be
that.
posting all your links and stuff in the description. So if anybody does want to reach out to Reed, just look in the description below the video and you'll be able to contact him. And same for me as well. Also, Reed does have, it's called a blink, where we'll post that as well. And that'll have a link to all his contact information as well as his socials and everything else for you guys as well. But yeah, it was a pleasure speaking with you, man. And obviously, we know each other, so I know a little bit about your story before we jumped on this. But um, yeah, is there anything that you want to talk about, or any messages that you want to give, or anything you want to share before we end it here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we covered a lot of ground, man. I really appreciate you having me on. I guess the last thing that I would say is, if you're a developer or you're a builder or you're an investor and you want to, be able to produce some super high quality homes, in really, really record-breaking time, save time and money, then definitely reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat with you, show you kind of, what we do. And we'll be looking forward to launching to the public really probably about the end of the year this year. So reach out to me direct. That's the way that you'll get information on HouseMac and what we're doing.
Perfect. And just in case you guys didn't catch it, he's inviting you into his room. So if you guys are trying to look for a space that you can feel like you can belong, that's the room that he's offering. I also help new investors find their first deals, and I show you guys how to do it without spending any of your own money. And it's really, really simple, really, really easy. It's how I got into the game. So I'm just kind of giving back as well. So, like I said, if you want, just reach out to me. I'll put my links below and then reach out to Reed if you guys are interested in anything that he had to say as well. So, but if you like the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, do everything that you could do on social media. And we're humble here as well. So if you find that we could have improved this in any way, or if you think that you got a lot of value out of it, put both in the comments because we want to know both, as well as how we can help you guys. Is there anything that you want covered in the future where I can find somebody that we can do a video for you guys as well? So, but all right, guys, take care. You're listening to the Off Market Mindset.